Adaptation Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Aquatic habitat. A habitat is any environment in which an organism lives naturally. There are two types of habitats, which are the aquatic and the terrestrial habitat. There are also different types of aquatic habitats, which are the marine, the estuarine, and the freshwater habitat. While the types of terrestrial habitat include the marsh, the rainforest, the grassland, and the arid land habitat. Marine habitat. Marine habitat is either ocean or high seawater bodies. Their characteristics include high salinity, pressure, current, tide, density, pH level, and light penetration. In the degree of salinity, there must be a very high concentration of salts, for example, the sodium chloride, the magnesium, the calcium, and the potassium. The concentration will be about 0.035%. The pressure. The pressure is about 1 atmosphere at the surface level and about 1,000 atmosphere at the deepest level. Current. At the surface of the sea, current is being driven by wind, while deep down the sea, currents are produced due to certain variations such as temperature and salinity. Tide. Tide occurs due to alternative rise and fall in water level caused by gravitational effects of the moon and the sun. Density as a characteristic of the marine habitat. Here, a reasonable density of about 1.028 sustains the floating ability of some marine organisms. The high sea is relatively alkaline with a pH range of between 8.0 and 8.4 near the surface. And in light penetration, light can only penetrate up to about a depth of 200 meters or more. Penetration of light depends on water turbidity. This goes a long way to affect the distribution of the phytoplanktons. Major zones of the marine habitat include the continental shelf, the abyssal region, and the oceanic region. The continental shelf is made up of the splash zone, the intertidal zone, and the littoral zone. The splash zone is just above the high tide mark, and it is always wetted with the spray of water from breaking waves. In the intertidal zone, water stays in this area temporarily, especially when there is high tide, and gets exposed to air again when the tide goes down. The littoral zone is found between high tide and low tide zone, and it is about 200 meters deep. The subtidal zone extends beyond 200 meters and is also a type of continental shelf. The abyssal region. This zone is more than 2,000 meters to the ocean floor, and the oceanic zone is beyond the edge of the continental shelf over the deep waters. The distribution of organisms in marine habitat. As we can see on the screen, there are different zones and the organisms that occupy them. The splash zone is made up of sand crab and the ghost crab, while the intertidal zone is made up of the salamander, the sponges, the sea anemone, the sea urchins, the clam, the annelids, and the mollusk, while the bathyal and the abyssal region is not inhabitable. In the metric zone, the phytoplanktons and fish live here, while in the oceanic zone, the shark, the mackerel, and the sea catfish make up the organisms that dwell there. Adaptation of marine organisms. Adaptive features in freshwater organisms. In the animal, there is high osmoregulatory ability. There is easy use of gills for respiration. There is the fin for mobility. There is a well-streamlined body. The starfish goes down the mud for protection. Some have special organs for attachment against waves and tides. There is the avoidance of accumulation of salts in their system, and there is the ability to desalinate water. In marine plants, some are coated with protective mucilages, for example the seaweeds. The angiosperms exhibit higher osmotic pressure, and also some have heavy coating on their leaf surfaces.